What I wanted to talk about today is the idea that when you when you get good at something or when you are good at something, it's it's because you have a lot of distinctions in that particular domain. And which seems to make sense, but I think it didn't occur to me where I hadn't thought about it that clearly for a long time. And Um, one example where it became very clear to me was years ago. I was teaching guitar, and somebody said to me like, "Oh, I'm not good with rhythm." And what was really clear to me was, oh, it's not that the person isn't good at rhythm. It's just that they haven't learned to make a lot of distinctions yet in that area. And it was very interesting because they saw that as a condition, like my hair is red, and that them not being good at rhythm was sort of the set condition in their life. When in fact, I could see that they just didn't have distinctions yet. I knew that they were capable of learning to hear those distinctions and make those distinctions, not just to understand them intellectually, but actually to perceive them. And so I knew that in time they would get good at rhythm. And I think this is the case anywhere. That if there's pretty much anywhere in your life where you say I'm bad at this, um, I'll bet you that it's just that you haven't learned to make distinctions in that area. Um, when I was growing up, I would say that I was primarily I was very auditory from playing music, and I was very kinesthetic. I was very much into um, body sensations, whether physical sensations or feeling emotions. But I wasn't a very visual person. And occasionally I would take a drawing class, but I wasn't somebody that, if somebody said, "Oh, do you remember what that person was wearing?" That never occurred to me. Whereas, a couple of years ago, I was talking to somebody and they said, "Oh yeah, remember 2 years ago that we did this and you were wearing this shirt." That's something that I was shocked. I would never recall something like that. However, when I started studying architecture, just by nature of the fact that I was studying it, I was being invited to notice a lot of things in the visual realm that I just never paid attention to. I remember a whole lecture that was all on how shadows were cast on different buildings, and I just never attended to that. So it was fascinating. It was a whole new world was opening up. Just noticing how shadows fall on a building and how they change throughout the day and different types of lighting. Um, that was something else that I didn't really notice. I think I would feel the impact of it, but if unless somebody drew my attention to it, I wouldn't really be noticing that. Oh, this is a very pleasantly lit restaurant, or this is a very jarring lighting in a restaurant. Um, I wasn't particularly sensitive to colors. Um, but then starting to look more at buildings and more at paintings, all of a sudden this whole new world opened up to me. Um, and so, this all goes to say that we can learn to make more distinctions. I hear people saying like, "Oh, I'm not very socially savvy," and it just means that they haven't been attending to those distinctions in their life. They may not realize, um, they may not be making distinctions about how other people are responding to them. They may not even be noticing how other people's interactions are impacting them. And little by little, if you learn to pay attention, you can make more distinctions and get very, very subtle about this. This is very true with food. Some people don't have very refined taste, but it's something that can grow. People start tasting wine, and in the beginning it's red wine or white wine, which you may not even be able to guess with your eyes closed. But eventually, it's all these different realms of white wine and red wine, and or different types of food. So this is all a way of saying, um, if you're interested in getting better at something, begin to get curious about what's the range of distinctions that I can start to make in this particular realm. Um, if you want to make distinctions about music, besides loud and soft, what other distinctions can you make about it? Is is there a lot happening in the bass register? Is it very busy? Is it dense with a lot of notes, or is it very spacious? Same thing with painting. Just even without making distinctions about subject matter, just looking at the painting, is it a lot of detail, or is it quite vague? Is it abstract? Is it more literal? Uh, so perhaps the next time that the thought crosses your mind, like, oh, I'm not very good at this. Instead, you can begin to ask, what distinctions have I not learned to make yet? And see what that can begin to open up for you.